There it is.
Okay, there it goes. Okay. So here's the website that I built. I built a weather app for my family, and we're spread all over the place. So my dad's pulls in from Wonderground API and from an open weather API. And this is just the ones that I chose to display.
Okay.
And then I also have it pulling in a different, these are both from open weather, but they're from different parts of it. So this one's a 5-day forecast. This one's a 7-day history. This is all the APIs that it pulls.
Okay.
It's from 3 main sites, but I just have them separated. So each page, like this is my dad's, all the APIs for my dad's pages. And this is all React. There's no back end or anything. And I have it pulled in because there's API keys. I had to hide them. So I did a .env file. So that's just how I named them. And when you do a .env, you have to have it like this for React. So I think there's 5 for each person, and there's 6 different locations. So I guess technically 30 different APIs is being pulled into this one application.
Oh, okay.
Well, only because you have to separate it by, like, this one has a station name in here. This one has a station name, but it calls on a different, like this is the daily summary. This is the observations.
Got it.
Where's the one call? This one. So this one,
let me see.
for example, hey, that is not what I said. What, did I copy too much? Yep, I did. Helps if you don't copy the equal sign. So the open weather, this is everything that it pulls in. It's a lot of stuff. So if you have another API that pulls in, like you said, the waves or whatever, because I don't know anything about surfing, so sorry about that. But you just have to figure out how to
use the data. Yeah.
Yeah, because that was where, and that's why I said Brian knows what I'm talking about, because I had a lot of help with this. Nope, that one's a blank. Okay, so I think that one just has, nope. Okay, so here's one. I had to call it differently in each one. But here I'm calling in the URL, because like I said, I had to have it hidden because it has a private key.
Got it. That's
so that allows it to be hidden.
Because most of them you have to sign up for, and then it gives you a private key.
Exactly. And then you can put that into the .env. And if you're doing it in React, you have to have this in front of whatever you want to call that URL or that API link. You have to have React _app_, and then you can call it whatever.
Got it.
I made mine easy to understand. So I have the person's initials rather, and then the source of it, which was, and this one would happens to be open weather, and I put URL just to make it easy for me to understand. And then this one was easy to call. I could just do it this way.
Oh, so you did a table. Okay, you did a table. So.
Yep, I think there was one, I think it was these guys, which I don't have currently loading up, only because I was running into issues. Yep, this one I had to map through.
Got it.
So, and it just depended on how the data gets returned. Typically I'm used to putting, was it the brackets? I think I had brackets originally, and then I had to do curly braces, I think is what we changed it to. Because it was not pulling something, or maybe it was curly braces in here and we had to change it to brackets.
It was because you were trying to iterate over data.
Yeah.
Or instead of directly accessing an object inside of it.
Trying to remember. Oh, it was in the forecast, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was PJ forecast or P Junior.
Yep. I had originally had the square brackets and we had to change that over to that because of the way it returned the information.
Yeah. So like if you look at your return, go down a little bit on your return statement. So notice how you've got like data dot day of week and then element whatever. The data dot, you can't do that on an array.
Right.
So.
And it kept erroring out saying and returning an empty array.
Yep.
And even though I had this statement in here to just return this phrase, if it doesn't see data that day of the week, it was working half the time, mostly not. So I guess like 25% of the time.
It was working sort of.
Yeah.
Depending on how you looked at it. Right.
Took a while, but because there's a lot of pages, like I said, there's a lot of APIs in there. But yeah, that's definitely something that we could play with. That'd be fun. Where was
yeah, I was like, is this a tall order kind of, but then maybe not. So
Melissa, I have a question on that. So since you were able to just hard code in the geographic coordinates then because you have family in those spots and that's the only data that you're trying to access then, right?
Correct. So in the APIs, they had, because I looked at the documentation for all the APIs. I have on this one, I have the breakdown of them. So for this one, these two are not being shown right now because we're having some issues with them. Like that one takes a MAC address, the API key, and the application key. Where this one takes, let me see, latitude and longitude, and then the API key, station ID, which you can get directly off of Wonderground, a postal or like a zip code. And I think this one's station ID as well. But I laid it all out so I could get everything and fill it in as needed.
Nice. Yeah, Virginia, the Magic Seaweed API is really easy to work with. The only thing that's kind of complicated is they'll give you the swell arrows and the wind direction arrow. And so it gives you basically the CSS for it, and getting that connected so that your arrows are real time is kind of a pain. But it's a nice one. Open weather is a nice one to work with.
And this one had icons as well that I could use. And it had the CSS for it, but I could not for the life of me, figure that one out. Because it had, trying to remember, where is it? It was, I want to go to the open call one. Because it shows the documents better on that one.
There's a free one.
But it has like everything listed in here and how to do it. And it shows you everything, but there's an icon in here, the ID and the icon. And it shows you, it shows you the CSS to use it. But I couldn't figure that out. Not mean I just didn't take the time to, I guess is more like it. See if I can, there's a thing, how to get icons, there it is. Yeah, those were all the different icons that I could use. And there's a URL to find the icons and stuff like that. So there's definitely ways to do it. Check the documentation. Like this one has a lot of documentation. So it was really easy to follow and manipulate it to, like Zach said, the way I wanted it to work. I just haven't manipulated these guys yet. That's the next step. Actually, the next step is actually to make an Android and Apple app, but I'll get that part in there eventually too.
So this is pretty cool because I thought, you know what, I'll make another project because I'm trying to think of portfolio, and I was like, okay, I want to make a not a like a weather, but for the region I'm in, at the time,
Mm-hmm.
where the background color changes based on the time of day
Oh, that'd
and
be
the
cool.
temperature. So it would be like if it's hot outside, then like the top right corner of the gradient would be like more of a red, and as the day cools off and it goes towards night, and it would bring me like more of like the dark cooler colors until you're like at a absolute black. But I was like, how do you do that with CSS? That's again, tall order, right?
I think it would be
styled components.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's yes.
Yep, and that was something else I was going to suggest for the projects that I was showing everybody beforehand when I was an hour early. So this is my portfolio. It's a lot better than what it was, trust me. But for my current projects, I didn't want to have like a whole lot, so I just have a couple of the ones that I'm like most proud of. And then I have this down here, which is all my projects. The good, the bad, the ugly, but it's a whole separate site that they can go to look, and they can see everything that I've done nice and laid out. I just don't have pictures for this one because it's boring. But something else that for projects while you're in CS is this site, a site that I found during Hacktoberfest. They have, like, the Game of Life is even on here. They have a whole bunch of coding challenges. And if you can do it, you can actually have it posted onto their website. Like my, I can find the Game of Life one. I actually had posted my Game of Life one on there with them. I can find it. I don't remember what number it was, but there's over 150 different projects you can play with. And there's a lot of them that kind of include stuff from Python. This one I did do. So May the 4th scrolling. And I got mine on there. This one was mine. I changed it. It was not easy, but I did it. I can't seem to get mine to do it exactly the way it's supposed to be, but it's pretty much the same thing as the movie scrollers. I think it was close.
It's better than mine, which I didn't even attempt it.
And then I went so far as because I had to play with 3D aspects.
To say how Zach really is Darth Vader. Just saying. Like, let's just call it as we see it. Like, really.
Yeah. And in learning how to do that crawler, I learned this, how to make 3D boxes in CSS. So I did a separate thing where I had just the 3D box so I could play with it. And then I got to play with this different scrolling effects. But it was a really good challenge. And I think it makes for really interesting portfolio pieces. So this was one website I wanted to share with you guys. If you're stuck on ideas of what to do, because they have so many. This is something else I did. I think I showed some of you this one time. This is just pure CSS. I know it's crappy. Believe me, I know it's crappy. But it's just pure CSS. In the, I can find the GitHub link.
Oh, it's named pure CSS. I thought that was like the way you were using like a vanilla JS kind of terminology.
No. The one I'm thinking of is actually I have to find it now because it was, oh no, it's in my it's in my links. Yeah, my repositories, there we are. I actually saved the one I'm thinking of that she did, and it was all CSS. I did mean it as in all CSS. This one.
Oh, pure CSS. Yeah.
She did that.
And CSS?
That's CSS.
Oh, I hate this person.
Right?
Whoever
This
did
was my attempt.
Oh, it looks the same to me. I'm seeing the same picture.
What, the
Beautiful
mountain?
Yeah, that's a beautiful Victorian woman.
But I mean, I'm just like, wow. And then I looked at the code for it because you can, her thing is there. I looked at the code. Her HTML is just insane.
Ugh.
It's like, look how long it is.
Oh, no. I don't have time. Ain't nobody got time for that.
That's why I did just the mountains. My code's pretty long too, but
Love it.
and I have this on my projects page, not my portfolio, because I'm not that proud of it. But it is something that I did, and it's a skill, like Zach said, it's something I did teach myself how to do. And it's not the greatest. It looks like a 3-year-old did it, but I can't draw anyway, so I guess that works.
I like it. I think most 3-year-olds can probably do this. I mean, these days, you know.
Most 3-year-olds cannot do CSS.
This is true. But it looks like I took a picture of something a 3-year-old drew and just pasted it up there, but I didn't. I actually did it with CSS.
Just say it's Minecraft.
Oh, I like it.
There you go. Yep, there you go.
And that was something I made sure I put in here was I also put my source code. I think I don't have a picture on there. I need to fill out the README, but.
I think what would be really cool is if you had like a description section and then like.
Yeah, that's my source code.
You could have like a, where it says like errata or something, like, you know, errors that you had to overcome or something like that.
Oh, you're talking about like in my projects or my portfolio?
Oh, in the portfolio, that would be kind of cool if you put that in there, because it would just be 2 more two more fields. So that might be cool to put in.
Like in here, like on this site, what I had problems with?
No, like the previous one. Like just, you know, like when you click on it, where you can click on the description and the source code and stuff, and just have like a brief description of.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay.
Any issues, things that you learned, things that you overcame when you
blog, like a blog entry kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool.
And that is something that I've had recruiters tell me that we should do. My thing is that I don't want to do front end at all. And I love when a recruiter comes back, they're like, well, can you show us a deployed image, you know, a deployed picture or something of your back end? I'm like, so I did send, one guy was being a real putz, so I did send him a picture of my back end. And said that's about as close as I could get. He thought it was hilarious, but I was like, I mean, they on front end, they're going, if you want to do front end, they do ask that question a lot. That's cool. And so definitely interesting projects with front end CSS, styling, different like animation. I get that one all the time. I'm like, but have you ever used this animation tool? I'm like, I'm applying for a Node backend developer. Wrong side, but they ask, and it is something that is definitely recommended to do, because now I'm going back and doing these kind of things so that I can show them something that is visual.
I have a quick question though. I sent you a link, Zach, but I have a website I created about 2 years ago using jQuery for fun. And I just noticed that if you reload the pic, can I share my screen real quick and show you guys this?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I'm trying to figure out like what is the problem here. So I had a smart car and I love that thing. And if, let's see, I have two, like literally clear history. And and then I can just redo that. And the car goes left, right, and it's supposed to go forward, right? But look how it's doing to the image right here. And also if I refresh, it does not do that again. I don't know what I did, but like, for example, garage is home, license plate is the about, make and model is the portfolio, like, and then contact is the beep beep. I want to, but if I refresh again and I want to see the cargo, it does not go. And secondly, it squishes the car.
So
Is that like a jQuery thing?
I would say this, because of security settings, I never saw the car. I've been trying to figure out why you had a big white space right down the middle of the app.
Oh,
I've been sitting here looking and looking, trying to figure out why that was such. So I would guess it has something to do with the jQuery, and it's probably caching.
Did you not see the car this time? You did not.
I see it on yours, but it won't show up on. It doesn't show up on mine because
it also doesn't show on Chrome. It only shows on Safari. I had to open Safari for that.
Yeah, I would say maybe consider redoing it in CSS instead of jQuery, because there's security issues with jQuery. And so anybody that runs it in Chrome will, they'll cut out a lot of jQueries. So
that makes sense, because I had no idea of that. And I was like, why can I not see on this? And also, why when I refresh the page, then I get nothing? And then that makes sense too, because so just change it from jQuery to, and do the animation off and on screen and straightforward. It's just two pictures. It literally is the one picture goes left, the other picture goes right, and then there's a the same picture goes right, and then the second picture comes straight at you. So I think jQuery could also be squishing my car then.
I would think that that's probably where it's at.
Where was everybody 2 years ago when I learned jQuery? You tell me don't learn jQuery. That was a long time. It took a long time. Learning something like jQuery when you don't know anything, when you just know what an object is, it takes a long time.
Virginia, I'll send a link to the main channel so everyone else can see it too. If you look at because I have the source code links. If you look at the ones that for like the Code and Train, the May the 4th, and the Falling Pumpkins, they're continuous scroll.
Ah, I see.
So they keep going. So if you look at some of the code in there,
I got it. Let me ask you a question though. If when I click on about, with that, can I default so it, not default, but can I keep the car from moving once that accordion goes up?
What do you mean keep it from moving?
So because like the car is in the garage, right? The home tab, the garage is what goes left and right and forward with the car, and I can set a timer for those. But if I press the about, which is the make and model, that accordion goes up and covers the home. That would stop the animation, right?
It would stop it as if you were changing pages.
Got it. Okay.
So when you go back to that home accordion, it should go back.
Got it. So probably
like some of the code for,
yeah. I see what you're doing. Okay. You did the transform translate. Okay.
Yep. And then there's also some of it is also in CSS.
I got it.
I think I just did a regular CSS for this one. Or actually, no, that one might have just been all. No, it is in there. Yep, there it is.
Okay, got it. I see. So you can set where it goes from and to. Okay.
Yeah, and this took a lot of finagling, I guess you could say. Which one was it? This one, I had to build dummy comments into it.
Just yeah.
This one. No, it was I had to have separate CSS files for this one because I had different times on them.
I see.
No, I just got to remember where they are. CSS, there it is. Of course, now I can't find it. I swear I had it though. Maybe it was in here.
You
But
remember
I had notes in there of like what each thing did. Like, okay, this one's going to move it forward or backwards, and this one's going to do this with it. Because I just couldn't figure it out.
I definitely want to see that because I'm translating it too. Yeah.
Why can't I find? Now I can't find that cheater code I gave myself. I can probably find it in a history. Let me see if I can find it in history. Oh, of course not. Because I had, like I said, I had to comment a lot of it because I couldn't figure out what a lot of it was doing. Like, what direction am I going in? All right, that's that one. And then this one. Yeah, I also did this. It was called Use Spring. It was a dependency that I could download that helped a lot. Well, that stinks. I can't find my little comments anymore. I'll have to find them and send them to you. But yeah, that helped a lot because like or were they all the individual ones in there? Transform, one went forward, front to back, one went left to right, one tilted to the right, one tilted to the left, one tilted down, and one tilted up.
Got it. And in this case, like, so if you want it to come from off the screen on the right to the left, you use negative values, correct? Or
in most cases, yes, I would use a negative value if I wanted it. Like this one was coming down from the top.
Got it. Yeah, so it is negative. You go negative and right. Yeah.
Yeah, and then if I wanted it to go off the screen on the bottom, it was usually just a more positive number than the actual screen width. But
oh, I see. Okay, and you usually set it for like twice, like because you don't know the screen size, so you would set for whatever, like for a ridiculous number. So and then just set your timer a little faster until it gets to screen size, and then you can slow it down. That's a lot of stuff. What is wrong with me?
Yeah, it was.
With all these projects.
It was interesting trying to figure it out. And the pumpkins one was the one I had the most work on, of trying to figure things out, just because I had some leaves that were just gonna fall and then stay and like form a pile. And then I wanted other leaves to just keep falling, which in and of itself was interesting. Like all these leaves in here are just falling and piling up.
Oh, so cute. Yeah.
And then all of these were falling and staying falling. And I think I had 8 of them, 8 different leaves, all the same picture. So each page had the same picture. But I have them falling, like the duration's the same for all of them, but they're all starting at different locations, so that they're all across the screen, and then they land in different locations. Like some go from left to right, some just go straight down. I tried to make it as unique as I could. That was this one. Obviously this one's not fixed yet, but
no, I love that.
I have the stuck ones turned off right now.
Yeah.
And then I had to play with the Z index a little bit so that I could get them to go over top of these pumpkins in the background. I mean, there's still more animation or not animation, there's still more tweaks that need to be done. As you can see, it just clicks out like that because I have them set wrong. They're all running for the same amount of time. It's just they're starting in different positions, so it looks like it just cuts the screen out. But one of the things that I wanted to make sure you guys had before we left, before we officially left you, was ideas of what to put on your portfolios. So I made some notes of different things that I've learned over the time, and Brian and Zach, let me know if you don't agree, but some of the things like on the main page or the about page, just to keep it simple, I found is the best way to do it.
I agree.
Huh?
I agree with that.
Yeah. And I definitely have found that most people want a profile picture on the page. But I've also seen a lot of portfolios that don't have a profile picture as well, and they work just as good. This I've heard is important about why you're coding. I've heard that can be a really good line in terms of if they're looking at this as like a resume, why do you like to code and why are you doing it could actually be a good reason as to why they hire you or don't hire you. And in terms of contact, I've been told many, many times to not include your phone number. And it's recommended not to have your address on there as well, because if they need that information, they can contact you directly. But I've heard that these 3 items are the best items to have on like the contact section or whatever. Because on your portfolio, you don't want to have necessarily all your jobs that you've done, but you do on your LinkedIn portfolio or profile.
And to add to that, Melissa, also anything that you have that's like specifically unique, if you do a lot of green sock animations on CodePen, then you may want to include like your CodePen URL, or, you know, if you're a YouTuber that produces content that's related to what you're trying to get employed for, like your YouTube, other kind of professional style resume content. And there's some Medium, like your, you know, if you write blog posts, your Medium, things like that.
Yeah. Medium and Dev2 is another one. Right? Is it Dev2 or Dev.io?
Dev.2. I'll double check though. Hold on.
I've seen people.
Yeah,
like,
Dev.2.
Okay. And I know Brian's portfolio, I think, is pretty much just one page, right? Yours doesn't necessarily go to separate pages.
Yeah, mine's a single page app.
And then another one was the skills. I've heard they really like to see some of the skills. But just a quick overview, not like everything you're skilled at. Like, I'm not going to put that I can type 55 plus words a minute on my portfolio because it has nothing to do with what my portfolio is. For my skills, I had, if I can pull it up, I just had my coding skills. And I don't even need to have all of those. I can just put the ones that I think I'm really good at.
The other thing too that you may want to consider on there is things that skills you have that demonstrate leadership.
Yes.
So agile, or any of those skills that show that you would be a good fit is also something I get lots of requests about.
Yep. And then for the projects, like I did on mine, and I've heard this across the board, you don't want to have too many projects on here. Like I think I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 under my current section. It's what you're most proud of. But I included a past projects because I wanted to show some progress. Like this website I have, I think, 3 different times on here. This was my very first attempt back in 2010. And then this was a couple years later, the same website. And then this is the last time I tried updating it. And you can see down here, that was 2017. So these projects, they're not even live. All I have is I have a link back to the Wayback Machine of what it looked like at that time. Or archive.org, I forgot, that's what they called it now. And you can see, and then what's nice about this website is you can find pretty much any website on there and it's fully clickable. So you can actually click through the links on my old website and see what it used to look like. And it's not a bad website, it's just the ones on my current ones are better. But I still wanted to show my past ones because it shows growth, which is also why I suggest having something like this one that has a lot of your projects, the good, bad, ugly, amazing, terrible, whatever you want to call them, so they can see the progress. And if they're really bad ones or old ones, just state that they're old ones so that they know, hey, this is an old one, I've grown since then. That they like to see, from what I've been told, they like to see growth. And that's what I put in here. I liked the overall list idea only because you don't want to bombard your portfolio with a lot of pictures. You're just going to show your pride and joys. But then again, some of the other ones that may not look as good, that might be what they're looking for. So it's not a bad idea to show them. One thing a lot of people have asked me, and I'm sure Brian and Zach have gotten the same question, was how to build the portfolio. My best advice on that and what I've given is you build it in what's most comfortable for you so that you shine through. I'm not going to build my portfolio in Java because I don't know Java and it'd probably look like I don't know Java. But I know React, so I did it in React. And I've also been told templates are not a good idea for a portfolio, especially for a developer, because they're going to be looking at it to hire you to create their website. And they can just inspect Element and see that it's a template. And if they see that it's a template, it's almost like, well, they can't even build their own portfolio on their own. What can they do for me? Brian, Zach, you agree with that?
Yes, I do agree. And the other thing I would although I kind of find that funny because they say never buy a mechanic's car because they work on everybody else's, not their own. So you could make the mechanics argument. I'm too busy developing for everybody else. I don't have time on my own. But the other thing is be careful about how it looks. So I built a shopping cart and the first thing that the recruiter looked at it and he said, oh, is this from, I don't know, one of those Who or Wix or something like that? I was like, no, I built it all from scratch in React. He goes, well, it really looks like their kind of thing. And so he dinged me because I used all the standard, very popular, but very standard, it was built with, I think that was a material. So it looked very generic in the sense it was very clean, but it looked like what you would get. And they dinged me for it. And I really believe that's the reason why they never called me back. Because that was the comment that they all made. Oh, is this from WooCommerce, I think was the name of it. And I was like, no, go look at I gave you my repo. You can see every line of code that I wrote as I wrote it. But yeah, so that's the other thing too. Maybe have a little bit of character that goes outside of the traditional, very generic plain, or not plain, but the very generic, the very standard websites. Do something that's a little bit different to demonstrate that it is yours, that you've done that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that too. On the same token, with the styling, I would let your work speak for itself. My original portfolio felt very stiff and just not me, which is when I came up with the one I have now. I wanted something that let me shine through, but wasn't full of like a lot of animations or things getting bigger, things getting smaller. I wanted something that was simple, but it still gave a little bit about my personality. So I tried to keep to this, the keep it simple thing. I wanted to keep the styling to a minimum, but yet still allow me to shine through without going overboard. The biggest thing I've heard 1,000 times is the colors. I kept to, I think, on the main site, other than the pictures, because the pictures are in and of themselves, I kept to, I think, 4 colors. It might only be 3, I can't remember. And what I was told one time was create a color palette from a picture that's going to be on the page. So where'd it go? This picture is on all the pages because it's part of my header. So I took this picture and I plugged it into this site here, and it generated a color palette for me based off that picture. And you can adjust it as you want, which is really, really nice. But I let it choose the picture. I let it choose the colors for me. Go away. I said, go away. You can just upload a picture. Maybe.
Will you please share your notes with us?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We'll just do this one. Of course, it's not going to be in there. I'll choose a different one then. Come on. We'll choose this one. This one I had some fun with the other day. So if this was like the main picture that was going to be on pretty much every page, or at least the bare minimum, the landing page, it looks at it from here and it allows you to pick, okay, like I want that color for this one. I kind of like that color for here. Let's choose this one. And then just some other random colors it threw in there. And then you can open it up in the generator. And what's cool about this is you can copy the hex code. You can look at gradients of that color and change them right here and save it directly to your thing. And if you only want these 3 colors, then that's all you have to use, but it's got the colors right there for you. I don't like this one. It's not dark enough. Let's move it over there. That type of thing. It even gives you the name of the color too. So if you're using that instead, you can use that instead. It was a really cool website that I found a while ago. And I forgot to put on here, where it was in here, styling. This one, along with Google Fonts. This is a nice website where you can look at where they have this. And you can also sign into this one too. I want to pick a font for the desktop. Probably say click not do it again, but gives you an idea and then it shows you what it looks like. And then we're going to do this one. Allows you to look at it like with actual material as opposed to Google Fonts. It isn't always easy to see. And you can also define the sizes right here. The Pro side allows you to actually download it, but you can view the previews. You can also go, oh, I didn't mean to hit back. That's right. But you can also download the CSS for it as well. I think. Oh, I think they showed you guys this in the beginning. I don't remember because we had to do something. This one is another really good site to go to for inspiration. It has the colors for you. It has their names listed or their hex codes listed. If you get it to load. But it has a whole bunch of different types of color schemes and what an example site looks like with them. Sometimes that's a nice way to start off with what types of colors to use, especially if you don't have a picture. I'll add that one to it as well. Can you guys think of anything else that's good to have on the portfolio? Where'd everybody go? Oh, Zach, you're muted.
I know, I wasn't really saying anything. I said, where is everybody? They're going places. I'm talking to myself mostly.
I don't know if you guys can think of anything else that should or shouldn't go on the portfolio.
No, I think you covered it really well. And for almost all of those reasons is exactly why my portfolio page is so ridiculously short. I hated all my projects, so I'm building new ones. And if it's weird having a portfolio when you're looking for a back-end developer position, it's pretty bizarre. So I think just some bit of creativity. And if any of you CSS geniuses figure out how to get Lego Darth Vader to come across the screen and then laser sword my name to pieces, I would love that. I'm just saying.
That would be awesome.
I was thinking about that. I always see, because Alexandra has Darth Vader right there. I'm like, man, if we just had the lightsaber right there and you just walk over there and just hack me to pieces, that'd be so awesome. I would absolutely love that.
My
Evil
goal
genius.
is to have a moving Lego on the screen.
Lego used to have a really cool website that you could build digital blocks, and it was really sweet. It wasn't specifically Lego, but you could just build like these really cool three-dimensional projects. But I think the question I always get, or I would say this, if you put design on your resume or on your skills, have design. If you say UX, make sure that you can demonstrate UX in your own project. If you are like me and horribly deficient in creativity, other than like evil genius moves, or I can think of things that I could never actually do, so it's beyond my level of creativity anyway. But if you suffer from that, make sure that you avoid those descriptors that would qualify you as saying, design. When you're giving descriptions, say this was designed by the team decided this design, and here's how I contributed. And the two recruiters that I talk to the most, they both want to see on the resume with the projects, they really don't even care about the links nearly as much as this is what I did, this is why I did it, and what would I have done differently. And they're really actually adamant, put it on your resume, 2 sentences about a project on your actual physical resume. They really want to understand how we contribute to the things that we say that we're doing. And so if I was thinking with Melissa's, the honeycomb game of life, it doesn't work. But to say, here, I developed I went through the process to develop the CSS, and now I need to figure out how to modify the rules to game of life to encompass 6 sides instead of 4. That really gives them a lot going on because they understand, okay, it doesn't work, but what did I have to do to figure it out? Well, I had to figure out 6-sided honeycomb gameplay, and then I had to figure out rules for a game that doesn't even exist, right? They really want that. And it's not something that Lambda School really addresses with the career coaches. They don't really require you to have that portion. But the most reputable, the big shots, ones that got me, they get you interviews at Amazon and eBay and Twitter, and they want that on there. And so over the holiday, part of my goal is to revisit those projects and make that fit. But I would definitely recommend that, not what it is, but how you did it, why you did it, and what you got from it. Far more important.
And I'll have to redo my tables all over again, but I can figure it out.
Yeah, that was my thing. I was like, oh, dang, I just passed the resume from the deal, and they're like, yeah. And the guy one of the guys, I mean, he's already had me with interviews for Bank of America, Twitter. What was the other one that I just blanked it right now? And I've got interviews lined up with several some of the biggest companies in the world after the holiday, after Christmas. But that's what he wants the most. He said, I want to be able to take 15 seconds and go, yeah, blah, blah, blah. He's a programmer. Wow, he does HTML, CSS. Who cares? Oh, this is a project that he did this, why he did it, and you're a little bit of understanding. He said, that's the first place that I go when I look at the resume. If you're applying for a software job and you don't speak languages well, you're not going to get hired. He said, I don't care. He's like, if you do something really unique that's odd, okay, I'll take maybe a second to look at that. But he said, I can usually learn more in about 6 or 8 sentences on 3 or 4 projects than I do on the entire resume. The rest of it is stuff that everybody requires. He's like, but when I'm looking through it, I don't really care. If you tell me you're a full stack engineer, you have to know these things. So I don't care. He's like, I don't even bother. And so that's
what each project is built from. Like this project was a Node backend, React.
Only if you have something interesting to say about it's what he told me.
Oh, okay.
So if you've built what do we do the Pern stack. That's right. So we do Pern, Postgres, Express, React, Node. So if you say I built the Pern stack, you don't need to have any of that other. But I used some crazy JS library to solve this particular problem, then they want to know about it. But as far as it's in Node, he's like, I don't care. Backend doesn't make any difference. I'm going to assume if you put it that you're a JavaScript full, backend or a JavaScript full stack, it's in Node. He's like, I don't care. But interesting what something special. And so I think the moral to that story try to find something special or do something oddly original in each project. Do something you haven't done before so that you have that statement to talk about. And it was interesting too. He said, and it's really cool because he's in Albuquerque, and he said, if you don't give me something interesting to talk to you about your projects, I'm going to just find stuff to talk about. And he said, if you want to be able to control the direction of the conversation on this project, on this mean stack project, I built this. He's like, okay, cool. Well, did you do this? Did you do that? He said, I'm going to elicit no answers. He's like, because I'm at this point looking for a way to kind of weed you out because you didn't give me anything interesting to talk about. If you said this is a mean stack where I had to work with 3 JavaScript libraries in order to accomplish this so the end result would work, he's like, oh, I'm going to say, well, what libraries were they? What did they do? Why? Right? He's like, so you get to pick the direction of the conversation. But if you just say, this project is in React Node, he said, I'll just start going with weird stuff. And he said, every time that you give me a no, then he's like, well, that moves you down lower on the, okay, well, they're probably not a fit. 2 or 3 no's. And he's like, you go into a different pile. And I thought that was probably the most profound advice that I have ever been given about, resume. And, I've had a lot of jobs and interviewed a lot of times and interviewed and hired a lot of people, but I had never really thought about it like that. And I think that was probably the best advice that I have been given by a recruiter. Lead the conversation by providing something interesting. But remember, they only want 2 to 3 sentences max per project. So you have to be pretty crafty in how you slide it in there. And his response too was, I'm a recruiter. I'm not a software developer. I'm not going to go to GitHub and go through your code and try to figure out. He's like, no, give me something to talk about. Let me talk to you about it. I can then see how I think you'll be a fit with the team that you might be going to. And we move forward. It's like, cool. And when anyone's at the job phase, they fill national jobs all the time. Let me know, and I will put you in contact with him, especially if you want government full stack jobs. They have a ton. I do not want, but if you're interested in that, when you're ready to actually start interviewing, because the one thing is, as soon as he interviews you, gets you your information, you're going to be doing code challenges within a week. So once you're ready, let me know and I'll put you in contact with him.
I know I think some of you were here. I don't remember. I'm sure Zach will too. I was planning on dropping links every so often next week to just do pair programming, just some projects, just to, like Virginia had mentioned earlier, the surfing one, because having a week off from coding is not always a good idea. You can forget things very easily. And coming from being currently in CS, although yes, the transition from Python back to JavaScript and back again is extremely difficult. I've still worked on projects this whole time, like the weather app that I showed you at the beginning. That's something I've been working on while I've been in CS, just to keep my skills fresh and using them and thinking outside the box. So having little projects, maybe not one quite as big as that one, that might have hurt me, but little projects to do throughout your CS unit is a good idea, just to keep those skills sharp, because you're going to go out of CS and go into labs where you're going to be back to your web core material. And I know, like I said, next week I was planning on just dropping some Zoom links every once in a while. If anybody wants to join, no specific time or anything like that, at least not yet. Just to see if people want to build projects, not just for you guys, but for me as well, so I can keep my own skills sharp. And obviously you're welcome to join. Those probably won't be recorded or anything. They're just going to be fun times. Who knows what we'll build.
That, and as much as it pains me to say it, it's not even a week, it's 9 days. I
Yeah.
mean, for most people, it's 2 weekends and a full business week. The other thing you have to remember is that we're only back for 3 weeks, and then it's another 2 weeks off for Christmas, New Year's.
Mhm.
So that's 3 weeks in the course of 7 weeks that we are not in school. And I know that last year as a student, when I went through Christmas especially, it was really rough. A lot of students came back. I never stopped, so it wasn't as bad for me. But a lot of students are like, oh yeah, 2 weeks of vacation. In academia, in like elementary school especially, they say that it takes until the end of October, Halloween, before children are back to the same point in education understanding that they were when they went to summer break. So it's nearly a 1-for-1 ratio of time it takes to get back on track. And so, I mean, if you think about 3 weeks of time off, that's definitely a lot of time off. So I would not encourage too much tryptophan and video games, although I do intend to put a few hours into some video games, but I will be here a long time.
Yeah, and I don't plan on building. My plan was during the little Zooms, it wasn't to build an entire project necessarily, but maybe just work on a project. Whether it's helping one of you guys with your portfolios or just a project you want to build, we just work on it, things like that. Just little, let's keep our skills sharp type meetings. So, I know you guys have a meeting in a little bit. I think it's about a half an hour of CS prep, I believe, right? So, I think so. That's what we've been told, the staff anyways. We've been told it's in your Canvas calendar or something. The other TLs and I, we will be in the help channel after that meeting. As far as I know, it's only a half an hour long to help you guys debug installing what you need to install for Python and stuff like that.
It
Get it
broke
done.
my machine.
Oh my God, it broke my machine so bad.
And what I will say this, it tells you to install pip. Don't. Pip is basically like NPM packages for Python. Don't install it. Never once did we ever use it, but it broke my machine and it screwed up Visual Studio Code so bad that I actually had to create an entire new profile and move everything to a new account because it was so messed up. Basically, you just want to have Python installed and a couple of Python extensions that just make it a little bit easier to run. It is not friendly. They say, oh, it's so easy and all this. Importing Python projects is not easy like JavaScript projects. And the editor is really crazy. So a couple of extensions, but just do the absolute minimum needed. And then if you have to do something else, deal with it then.
Yep, and I've got a couple notes that I started up on getting started with Python that I'll add to the channel later today as well, for anybody who needs it. So. Oh, excuse me. Anybody have any question, comments, concerns?
So the installing stuff, is that all going to be during the presentation, or is there something we're supposed to be downloading outside of it?
I don't know what they're going to cover in the presentation. I know I didn't really have one. They just kind of said, hey, welcome to CS. You're not going to be working with React and JavaScript or DS stuff anymore. Now you're in CS working with Python. And then class started. And we were supposed to have already had it installed, which I know the TK is there for that reason, but it's like he said, pip broke my machine. So I couldn't do half of the stuff they wanted me to do that first day because I just couldn't get it to run. And I found a good hint. when most of the instructors type out the word Python to run a file, you can just type py. It works beautifully. As long as you have Python 3 or above installed, just type py and then the file name and it runs.
And a lot of the stuff, install Python 3 plus.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is on now, but there was like a break in friendship, and the 2 guys went one way and the 3 guys went another, and they're no longer friends. Both of them are used a lot, but the more interesting things that you will recognize, like template literals. Wow, that's tough to say today. They have one in Python that's kind of nice, but you have to have 3. Poor Jackie, she had 2 something, and she was trying to do that assignment, and it would not work, and it would not work. And finally, I was like, "You're on the wrong version," and that's all it was. But a lot of the troubleshooting and debugging that we have access to, you're not going to have. And so doing the minimal required just to make sure that you don't have anything you don't need will save you a lot. They give you a whole list, kind of like Gabe. If you remember when you started with Gabe's like, here's 5 pages of things you need to do, but we used all of those. They give you one kind of like that at the start of CS. And except for Python, I never used anything at all that they gave me.
I think
Never used it once.
I downloaded was Python and then a couple of VS Code extensions.
Yeah, a couple
Okay.
of like short, like the kind of like the ES7 React snippets. There's a couple of those. There's one of those that just gives you a basic snippets for just shortcutting a couple of the longer commands. And then if you use like Prettier Plus, I think you're good. But some of the visual editing tools that will save, edit, or configure out and save, you may need one of those to make sure that you get your indentions right, because it's white space. So if your indentions are not exactly right, it won't run even if your code is, which is also highly annoying when you're used to having a bit more control over what your structure looks like.
Okay, so is it all in VS Code, or is there another editor we use for?
No, VS Code.
Yeah, VS Code. The data science team will come in. That a lot of them are using a different one besides, and so if you end up working with them, they may have a different editor because they use one that's a little more specific for data science, Jupyter notebooks, which works, and that'll be one of the things they tell you to install. I never used it. We don't ever use it. Don't waste your time installing it. Like I said, install Python and a couple of extensions, leave everything else until the point that you have to have it.
And that's something else that kind of threw me off. So fair warning is my cohort for CS is CSPT 13. We are comprised of all web students and DS students that finished Unit 4 and are entering CS. So you're going to be right there in class with DS students and web students, and they're going to ask questions. Some of the questions that DS students will ask are going to be way above your head because they already know Python.
They've been doing Python their entire Lambda career.
So some of the questions that might get asked are going to be like, wait a minute, did we ever cover that? And no, you probably haven't. It's just because they know Python already. They know some other questions to ask, where the web students are going to be like, what was that called again? So just fair warning. And then a lot of the projects, it is highly encouraged that you pair program with Python because you'll get it a lot quicker. If you can pair program with a DS student, I've heard that that's far better than just another web student. But I've also heard stories about that too. So it can go either way, but just be prepared that you're gonna have DS students in there and it's gonna confuse you at times. I think the 2 instructors I had were both prior web. So a lot of times when they reference something like on a front end basis, they referenced it in a way that I understood, but there was a couple references where they're like, you know how like when you do this, it looks like this. it confused me because it was a DS version, not a web version. So you're going to have some of that with some instructors as well. Well, you only have one instructor, I guess, but
Beige. But yeah, they do have a different technology and a different jargon related to data science. The one good thing about, so I would not attend my lectures and instead I would watch Beige because my instructor was, he was too chaotic for me. And I would end the lecture confident I knew less than when I started. So I would watch Beige. He is really, really good. The guy that's going to teach yours, he is awesome. The guy eats and breathes 8-bit computers at a very, very fundamental level, and he is really good. Yeah, Beige is awesome, and he understands it. But he's a computer scientist. He's neither web or data science, and so he's kind of in the middle. And so he gives a pretty good balance.
on the one link that I shared a little bit ago, the one that lands you to the some extra links page like this, I do have all my notes for CS already in there. And that's for unit 1 and unit 2. The only thing that's not in there is the last sprint of CS unit 2 because I haven't gotten there yet. And it's got all the instructor notes too, because this was the instructor I had for the first unit. This was my group, and this was a previous group he did. So I added those GitHubs because they added a lot of notes and they do things slightly differently. And then this is my 12-year-old teacher right now. I swear to God, he's only 12. He's good, don't get me wrong, but he's like 12 years old, I swear. But he's got this Hack MD thing, which is actually kind of really cool. But he's got all his notes and he's got snippets. He has links to LeetCode and solutions for some of the LeetCodes. So I tried to add all that stuff in there for y'all, and for me, but so that you guys could have ideas of what you're getting into. Commenting out, by the way, in Python is different. It's a hashtag, or it's these 3 double quotes to do a block of commenting out. Found that out the hard way. It's not single quotes, it's double quotes. But so those are there for you guys if you need them or want to use them, and please feel free to add your own notes to it. The more the merrier.
That's cool. Thank you.
Where did you share that, Melissa? In 35?
In the main 35 channel.
And do you have it clonable so that they can clone it, or that they can?
Fine question. Let me find out. I know they can edit it. Those link options. Yes, I do have it as allowed duplicate. Yep, I have everything on for that except for indexing. And like I said, I had it so that you guys could edit to it. So if you wanted to add any of your own notes to it to make like one big master document to everybody who has the link, I welcome the extra stuff. But yeah, like he said, you guys can't duplicate it to your own Notion account. But I've got all the units. I think the only unit so far that's really lacking is unit 1 in notes. I have all of 2 and 3 and 4, and then all of CS that I've done so far. So if you ever want to look back, it's there too.
Awesome, thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, I will let you guys go since you guys have that meeting in a little bit.